Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on the educational sector with a special focus on higher education and scientific research taking place in Egypt. But before we start doing that, let's check out some of the stories making the news today. And we'll start off with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who inspected the Control and Follow-up Operations Center for the National Network of Emergency and Public Safety. Now, presidential spokesman Bassam Muradi said the president listened to a detailed explanation about the activities of the center. He said the center is applying the latest technological specifications, where it is an important component to enhance the emergency system and public safety through a rapid communication with different governorates and linking all the country's emergency elements and vital installations, as well as receiving reports of different types from citizens according to the latest global tracking systems. The head of state conducted a practical experiment through the control center by tackling a practical contact with special operation rooms in the governorates of Suez, Ismailia, Bursaid, South Sinai and Luxor. President Sisi assured the leaders of the conservative activation procedures in every governorate and gave his directives and full coordination among all stakeholders to achieve goals of the system and respond to all types of emergencies and crises. He also instructed the governors to follow up the markets during the holy month of Ramadan to ensure the price is adjusted and the provisions of goods to citizens. And joining us now over the phone to shed more light on the President's inspection today, we're joined by Major General Hamdy, the strategic expert. Major General Bekheit, good evening.
Good evening.
Major General Bekheit, now the President inspected the National Network of Emergency and Public Safety. Now, what are the main characteristics of this service, the Center, the National Network of Emergency and Public Safety? What are the characteristics of it and the operational follow-up of it all?
I think this center is a good sign for future vision of the Egyptian political command and how they can watch to manage the crisis and disaster accidents that could make any kind of threat to the society. It doesn't It doesn't show that the political command is concerning about how to save and assure the peaceful environment for the community only, but it can be one of the main monitors of how to follow up the preemptive steps that could give a chance to the government and all safety institutions and disaster and crisis system to face these threats in the right time. That will make a kind of flexibility and restful ways to face the big or unexpected changes in the environment, and at the same time in the movement of the market of the main sites of the country. So when you watch the experiment that the president has followed today, that it covered the Suez Canal cities and Luxor and Sinai, you can get to the conclusion that this experiment is showing that we can watch the main critic position and sites that could form a kind of threat. You can see that these sites is concerned with touristic activities, fighting against terrorism, ensuring and saving the pathway of Suez Canal. So it gives us an indication that we are concerned about all these sites that could represent a threat for the national security.
Major General Bekheit, are we talking about a specific kind of emergencies and public safety dealing with major events or major locations such as the Suez Canal, or as you've mentioned, fighting terrorism and controlling the markets and the prices and everything? Or are we also talking about specific emergencies and public safety that would be concerning the citizens, something equivalent to the 911 system, for instance?
I don't think that it's equal to the system 911, but it's a kind of alert warning system with a kind of ensuring the good time to taking preemptive steps to avoid and contain any disaster or crisis. It doesn't make a kind of complication between the systems are used nowadays to ensure and assure that the country is functioning in all the systems in the proper way. But it gives us a chance to stop any kind of threat. You can, we can jump to the conclusion that any disaster can be changed or turned upside down into crisis, and the same thing, any disaster could be changed to a crisis. Mm-hmm. That center will give a chance for the political command and administrative command and the governorates to have a preemptive steps to face this failure before it happens. So it's not a kind of something parallel or looks like the system 911. No, it's a kind of high technology system with specific net of communication covering all the country. But I think it's taken as a part from the east part of the country, then it will take another parts, but according to the importance and validity of these parts of the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, sir, there's a lot of talk about the coordination among different governorates and different institutions in Egypt. How will this sort of coordination take place between the different governorates? I mean, now we're talking about the Suez Canal governorates, but as you've mentioned, it will be covering all the governorates in the country.
I think there is a circle which I consider it a lost circle, that we have to have crisis and disaster management in all the ministers of the country. At the same time, we have to have emergency rooms in all the governorates. These rooms and centers should be coordinated and at the same time connected with this center. So that will give us flexibility to save and secure and face all these threats that would represent a kind of non-stability, especially at that time.
Mm-hmm. Well, what sort of services can such a center offer to the citizens? Will the citizens be able to call the center, for instance, and report some sort of suspicion regarding any illegal activity, or will it only be subjected to phone calls or reports made by other institutions such as the Interior the Ministry of Interior's institutions?
I think the key word is system of communication. The system of communication should be first one should be coordinated. At the same time covering, hello?
Yes, yes, I'm with you, sir.
At the same time covering all the ministers and departments of the country. So that will give us a chance to move smoothly and with flexible steps that gives us a chance to coordinate all the reaction that will be taken to face this threat. And at the same time, when you speak about the Interior Department and the Ministry of Defense and any other ministry, they will move under one umbrella. This umbrella is that center that gives them a kind of good coordination and communication.
Mm-hmm. Major General Bekheit, now we're talking about this sort of center really servicing and focusing on the governorate of the Suez Canal. Now, when can we actually see this center applying its services to all the rest of the Egyptian governorates all over the country?
This is a good question. I think to cover an area is a good step, and especially when you start with the critical areas. As I told you from the beginning, this area is very critical. Suez Canal governorates are very critical because they are representing a base for the development of Sinai. At the same time, North and South Sinai is representing areas that facing kinds of threats and interests. Mm-hmm. The interests are represented in tourism, especially Sharm el-Sheikh and other places in Sinai. At the same time, fighting terrorism, at that time, that securing development and gives us a good environment to achieve the goals of developing Sinai and other critical parts of the country. That success in this area will prepare the way and give us a better chance to go to another areas according to its importance and priority. So I think it wouldn't take that long time. I think at the beginning it was very hard and it took long time. Now and after that center has been built and established, I think it will give a good chance to spreading over all the countries to make such kind of follow-up and control to any accident or any threat or any crisis or any disaster.
Mm-hmm. Well, one final question now. The this Center for the National Network of Emergencies and Public Safety, what more does it add to the safety and security of Egypt? Does it add more speed in response? Does it add more coordination among different institutions and governorates and different services? What exactly does it add in value and efficiency to guarantee more safety and security in the country?
Here I would say that as a man who worked in long experience with crisis management as the director of Crisis and Management Center in the Armed Forces, I know the value of this center. That is a good and added big value to national security of Egypt, especially the national security inside the country and facing the threats inside the country. And this is the mood of the world now. It's how to help the administration to face all the threats without any delay or any reluctant steps that would stop the development and the strategic plans of the country. So this center is very important and a great added value to the network of command and control, flexibility in command and control, coordination between all the departments of the country and all the ministers and all the governorates, especially those who are neighboring each other. So this is a good step that will help the country to be one of the developed country in the world.
Major General Hamdy Bekheit, the strategic expert, thank you very much for joining us, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be off to a short break, but we'll be right back, so don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still making the news today, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli presided over a meeting to discuss a number of political, economic and social files, including the latest developments of the coronavirus pandemic and the availability of vaccines. The meeting also tackled a number of projects, draft laws and ministerial decisions over national projects across governorates, especially the Decent Life initiative for developing rural areas and villages. Providing food commodities in light of the Russian-Ukrainian crisis also topped the agenda of the meeting. And also, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry left for Washington today, kicking off an official visit. The top diplomat is scheduled to hold talks with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, a number of U.S. officials, members of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and U.S. think tanks. The visit comes within the framework of intensified consultations to boost strategic ties and exchange views over a number of regional and international issues of mutual concern. These were some of the stories making the news today, but now focusing our attention to tonight's topic and focusing on higher education and scientific research. Now, Cairo University is ranked among the top 100 universities, according to the British Quarterly Simmons, the QS World University Rankings for 2022. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Cairo University achieved great progress in the UK's QS World University Rankings for 2022, as the university was listed among top 100 universities in the world in 5 majors. Cairo University President Mohammed Osman Al-Host said in a statement that Cairo University ranked 51 to 100 in civil and construction engineering, petroleum engineering, hospitality and leisure management. He added that the specialities under which the university is listed increased by 160% compared to the 2017 results in this classification. He noted Cairo University is the only Egyptian university that was present in the 5 major sectors combined in the world rankings for this year, and among the top 300 universities in the world in major scientific sectors. For the first time, the hospitality and dental specialties were also introduced in the classification. Al-Host explained that the university ranked 271 in the arts and humanities sector globally, which illustrates the great efforts made by the university in this field. Ranking 81st globally in pharmacy and pharmacology and 51 in dentistry. President of Cairo University said the university has occupied this category in the engineering domain, holding a position in dentistry, and was listed in the 81st place in pharmacy. It came 134th in technology and engineering and 178th in the medicine field. He also lauded the great progress made by the university, noting that such achievements are attributed to the best strategic planning adopted at all levels to compete with advanced universities worldwide.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're joined over the phone by Dr. Ibrahim Helal, the Professor of Engineering at Ain Shams University. Dr. Helal, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Dr. Helal, first off, now we're talking about higher education and scientific research in Egypt. Now, Cairo University is ranked among the top 100 universities worldwide, according to the British QS World University rankings. Also, there has been a lot of improvement by other Egyptian universities among the Arab universities, the top 300. Now, first off, the scientific research and higher education, Cairo University being one of the top 100 universities in many different majors, 5 different majors. What does this say about the educational sector here in Egypt, since it's one of the most demanded sectors in the Egyptian society to face a lot of improvement along the health sector as well?
Actually, this basically reflects the advancement that has been carried out in the higher education in general, and the big names of the universities in Egypt in particular, like Cairo University, Ain Shams University, El Mansoura University, and all these universities, in some aspects, has been acknowledged and recognized as, one of the pioneers among the universities in the Middle East and North Africa region. And meanwhile, in the worldwide ranking, some of them has been granted, a good rank in this, record. In Cairo University, as you mentioned, it's now recognized as one of the top universities recognized worldwide, and Ain Shams also has been granted this position or close to that in some aspect. For example, as an engineering professor in Ain Shams, I would say that we have been conducted a lot of research and cooperation programs with multinational universities. Among them was MIT, one of the top universities in the United States, and now it's replaced by Arizona University in establishment of the Energy Center Excellency in Ain Shams Engineering, in Faculty of Engineering in Ain Shams. So, I mean, it's, as I mentioned at the beginning, it reflects, the big boost that these universities has been granted in the past 5 years, and the progress that reflected in so many programs and international cooperation with other universities worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen over the past few years a lot of development taking place within the educational sector, but now for the Cairo University, for instance, among other Egyptian universities, being ranked that high up in terms of world university rankings. Now, what happens for Egypt or the Egyptian universities to go that high up in their ranking? Are we talking about coordination with other universities worldwide? Are we talking about research and development that has been taking place at these Egyptian universities? Is it talking about the quality of the graduates and what they have achieved after graduating? What is the criteria and the standards that actually improves Egyptian universities in world rankings among international universities?
The programs that are being offered, in the Egyptian universities now has been adapting, a new, vision to serve the community and to look for the major issues or concerns worldwide, like on food, on water, and in energy. And we have so many excellency centers has been established, in cooperation programs with other worldwide universities. Like in Alexandria University, for example, there is a big program established also, international one, for the water management, which is a major concern and the attention of the worldwide universities. In Cairo University and the big universities, well-established universities in Egypt in general, like Cairo and Ain Shams, actually is being looked at as a leading universities, that most of the local universities are following their steps, and this has been impacted positively on these newborn universities, either in Upper Egypt or even in North Delta. So we now are touching these results by the steps has been started by the big names like Cairo and Ain Shams and Alexandria universities and all these kinds.
Mm-hmm. Well, the country as a whole is following a certain direction towards green economy, environmentally friendly energies, digitization. Obviously, Egypt is hosting the COP27 later on in November in Sharm el-Sheikh. So everyone's really talking the language of sustainable development. Now, being a professor at Ain Shams University, do you feel that the Egyptian universities and the students themselves are really heading towards a different direction of studies and facilities and application that is maybe a little bit different than what Egyptians have been used to for decades?
Yes, sure. Actually, we are switching from the conventional specialities and programs to this kind of, worldwide attention, like environment, like water, like food, and so many cooperation, even with the industry, like, for example, in Tushka, for example, as a new area for, cultivation of the strategic crops, and is being now developed under the cooperation of so many authorities, including Ain Shams University and the Cairo University as well, in this big project. For the water management, so many programs now are being carried out, and the research for these universities with other, international universities as well. So the attention now is being, directed to this kind of non-conventional programs, and that's why so many programs now reach to 10 new programs now in Ain Shams engineering, which are serving the community in terms of the new language of environment, of sustainability, of water, of food, of energy. Like, for example, we have in Ain Shams a complete program called Energy Program, where the students are being graduated as energy engineers. Okay? On that measure, you can find so many programs, developed in other universities in Egypt to serve the environment, to serve this international attention of the major issues like water, energy, and environment.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Helal, now, what does it really mean when we actually say that Cairo University or Egyptian universities are going up the QS World Universities rankings, the British one, in the top 100 and top 300 as well? What does it mean? What does it translate into? I mean, you've mentioned the cooperation with the MIT in Massachusetts and also with Arizona. Does that also mean more cooperation with international universities? Does that mean that maybe graduates wouldn't have to have equivalent studies if they actually travel and work abroad in foreign countries?
Sure. I'll tell you what, for a long time, actually, our graduates from our universities are being admitted to these worldwide universities, even without pre-qualification exams. I'll give an example. For me, as when I went to do my PhD in Canada, nobody asked me for extra courses or extra studies or so. So, I mean, it's historically that all these, big names universities in Egypt are being acknowledged and recognized from the worldwide universities, and we have, stars from Egypt in the engineering field. I can mention so many names in Canada and North America, where their textbooks and research are being recognized from all graduates and all researchers in the field of electrical engineering, which I belong to. So the ranking is just, a kind of acknowledgement or a recognition of the achievement that has been done for decades, of these big names universities like Cairo and Ain Shams, and the recognition which has been achieved worldwide is now being, acknowledged and recognized in terms of the ranking.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dr. Helal, you've mentioned obviously Cairo University and Ain Shams University, but you've also mentioned, for instance, in Mansoura universities, and there's been a lot of talk about the new Alamein University, the university in South Sinai, many different universities and many efforts exerted by the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research for the technical education as well. Do you think with the establishment of many more universities, with many more specializations, specifically in the ICT department, specifically with the digitalization age that Egypt is entering with the sustainable development, do you feel that the demographic of the Egyptian students among the Egyptian universities is changing bit by bit?
That's exactly what is being done at the moment. You know that we have now in a stage of building a new 10 universities, which you called, the national universities or al-Jamaat al-Ahliya. I don't know the translation exactly. And these are universities which are being established with a new approach or a new vision. Like, for example, Ain Shams University now is establishing a new campus in the new capital. You can say it's, the technology valley. It's not with the sense of just establishing the new faculties or new departments. No, it's a mix between humanitarian studies, the technology studies, and even the industry involvement. So it's with a new concept, totally new concept, being carried out in this new campus of Ain Shams University in the new capital. So the conventional vision of the universities are being now changed to serve the development and the changes in the community and worldwide in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, the conventional way of education has also witnessed a lot of changes over the past couple of years. That was really kick-started by the coronavirus pandemic. Everybody started working from home, studying from home, taking their exams at home, doing everything electronically. How much of a challenge was it for you as a professor and for the students at the universities, the transformation and adapting to this new way of education and taking the exam and correcting these exams? How challenging has it been, and do you feel that now the educational system is fully adapted, and in tune with this kind of education now?
As a matter of fact, the face-to-face education is indispensable. We have been treated or dealt with the pandemic, as a very unusual and special circumstances that we had to deal with. But for me and from my experience, the face-to-face education is indispensable, and the remote education from home, by all means, with all new technology and so, but will never replace or compensate or be equal to that of the face-to-face education. Mm-hmm. But now we are, thank God, passing this bad experience of pandemic, and now things are being changed, and we are back again to the real touch and the eye-to-eye contact between the professor and the students, which makes the real impact and do the real education that we look for.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Helal, now, next month UNESCO will be bracing for the third World Higher Education Conference 2022. It'll be taking place in Barcelona, Spain, and Egypt will be participating in this third conference. Now, what sort of cooperation or what sort of conclusion or opportunities do you see the Egyptian universities and the Egyptian higher education and scientific research gaining from such a conference, the participation and maybe cooperation with other world universities?
As I mentioned before, all these kind of conferences is a good opportunity for all of us to be in touch with the international universities and the international student exchange is a big benefit to us. The researchers exchange is a big benefit to everybody. It's a mutual benefit between us and the other universities. Mutual experience we are exchanging together. So these conferences actually will help a lot for holding so many agreements and cooperation programs. It's be in the same line of we are doing at the moment. We can find. I mean, it's hard to to say that there's a university or a faculty in a university without an international relation with other similar universities worldwide. So we can find a cooperation between the Faculty of Medicine with England, the cooperation between the Faculty of Engineering with American universities. It's being now existing on the ground, and these conferences will add more cooperation and touch with other universities.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Ibrahim Helal, the Professor of Engineering at Ain Shams University, thank you very much for joining us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I've just mentioned, UNESCO will be bracing for the third World Higher Education Conference 2022 in Barcelona, Spain, next month, May. Now, I'll leave you with this report, but unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Stay tuned for more coming up on NAD International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.
The third World Higher Education Conference will take place in Barcelona, Spain from the 18th till the 20th of May 2022, bringing together relevant stakeholders to define and prepare a roadmap for a new era of higher education with the aim of responding to challenges faced by humanity and the planet, with special attention to the global disruption created by the COVID-19. The conference will look at both higher education systems as well as norms, policies, structures, stakeholders and institutions. UNESCO is organizing the conference to offer new knowledge, innovative ideas and creative alliances. Also, the agenda for development and beyond the higher education conference aims at reshaping ideas and practices in higher education to ensure sustainable development. In the view of strategic scope remaining and the new time frame representing an opportunity to deepen and expanding common efforts of knowledge and production. UNESCO considers the process of collective construction as the greatest richness of the conference, which aims to become a global conversation nurtured by diverse narratives on higher education. All UNESCO member states will be invited to attend the event and nominate a delegation of up to 3, including participants from different backgrounds. Virtual participation is also available to a select number of registered attendees who can follow the discussions live on the conference platform.